Good morning, ESL 5. Today is Wednesday, May 6th, and we are doing number 48 on President Abraham Lincoln. The instructions. Read and annotate the article, then complete the ELA writing and quiz. So we're completing ELA, not social studies. All right, let's look at our level for today. We are going to read at 780. This is a good level for you to read at. If it's too difficult, you can go to Spanish or you can go down to 560, but I really recommend you try to read at 780. All right, let's get started. That's Abraham Lincoln, this guy right here. You'll also see him on some of our money. He was a really important guy, and we're going to learn about why he was so important in today's article. President Abraham Lincoln, in a speech after his election, warned the South that the question of whether the country entered a civil war depended on them. A civil war is a war between groups of people in the same country. Lincoln knew that such a war would be terrible for the United States, and he wanted to prevent it. Yet, at the time of Lincoln's election, the country was divided. Slavery divided the country. The main disagreement was over slavery. Southern states wanted to protect their right to own black people as slaves. Slaves are people who are owned by another person as if they are property. In the South, farming was the main way that people made a living. Southerners did not want to have to pay their workers, and that is what would happen if the slaves became free. The North felt that it was wrong for people to own other people. They wanted to make slavery against the law. The Southern states said that if slavery was outlawed in the United States, they would break away and form their own country. All right, very quick. This article makes it sound like everyone in the South wanted slavery and everyone in the North didn't want slavery. It's a little more complicated than that. There are people in the North who didn't mind slavery, and there are people in the South who were against slavery. So just remember, it's not always black and white. Let's continue. Lincoln was willing to fight to keep the United States as one country. When the first shots were fired by the Southern Confederate Army, he called on the Northern states for 75,000 volunteers. The Union Army was ready. Union Army is in the North. Once the Civil War started, the remaining Southern states began to pick sides. Four more Southern states joined the Confederacy, but four others stayed with the Union. Remember, the Confederacy is the South, when they seceded and became their own country, when they left. Log cabin years were tough. Lincoln was born on February 12, 1809, in a log cabin in Kentucky. He grew up in a poor family. He had to struggle to find time to study while helping to support his family. His mother died when he was just 9 years old. Lincoln worked on his farm, on a ferry boat, and as a store owner. He was always trying to learn more. He loved to read. He was a captain in the Black Hawk War, which was a fight between the United States and Native Americans. Black Hawk was the name of the Native Americans' leader. Lincoln spent 8 years as an Illinois lawmaker and worked as a judge. He taught himself how to be a lawyer. He married Mary Todd in 1842, and they had 4 boys, only one of whom lived to adulthood, which means 3 of his sons died. That was very common at that time in history because we did not have good medical care. A new birth of freedom. As 16th president, Lincoln united most of the North to the Union cause. On January 1st, 1863, he issued the Emancipation Proclamation. It was a law that declared all the slaves to be free. You need to remember this. Emancipation Proclamation. Emancipation means to make people free from slavery. Proclamation is to make an important announcement. So he was declaring to everyone in the world that the slaves are now free. Lincoln felt that the Civil War needed to remind Americans forever of who they are. He spoke of this in one of his most famous speeches, the Gettysburg Address. That's the name of the speech, Gettysburg Address. It was in a place called Gettysburg. That these dead shall not have died in vain, he said at the Gettysburg battlefield. That this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish. Lincoln won re-election in 1864. It seemed that an end to the war was near. Let's go back and look at this quote. These dead shall not have died in vain. So that means there is purpose. There's a reason that these people died in the battle, in the fight between the North and South. This nation, under God, meaning believing in one God, will have a new birth of freedom. And the government is made of the people. It's decided by the people. It's to help the people. And it shall not perish, which means it will last for a long time. And it will not stop. Let's continue. Lincoln planned for peace. In planning for peace, the president was generous. He wanted to listen to all points of view. He encouraged Southerners to lay down their arms and join the Northerners in rebuilding the country. That was called Reconstruction, that period of time, the Reconstruction era. The spirit that guided Lincoln was clear in his second inaugural address. That speech is now inscribed on one wall of the Lincoln Memorial. You can see that in Washington, D.C. The Lincoln Memorial is a huge statue built to honor President Lincoln in Washington, D.C. He called on the nation to find the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds. On April 14, 1865, Lincoln was shot while watching a play with his wife at Ford's Theater in Washington. Abraham Lincoln died the next morning. The man who killed the president was an actor named John Wilkes Booth. He was angry the North had won the war and thought that by assassinating Lincoln, he was helping the South. In fact, the opposite was true. With Lincoln's death, the chance of an easy peace between the North and the South had been lost. Now we're going to take our quiz, look at our activities on the right side, ELA writing, and the quiz. Do not do social studies. ELA means English Language Arts. Let's go right. Here is the question. You are in ESL 5. Write a short paragraph explaining who President Abraham Lincoln was and what he accomplished during his presidency. Explain why he is important in U.S. history. Write 5 to 10 sentences in your own words. So you're just going to read through, find examples of what Abraham Lincoln did and why he was an important person and president. Accomplish means like what was he successful in? What did he do when he was a president? All right, when you're finished, make sure to go back to News ELA and finish everything for all your classes. Bye.